everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am Allison Knive, and this is Kate.
I'm Kate Blakely with Homeschool Hopscotch.
Hi, and this is our second interview in our series. We are interviewing real moms who work from home. We recognize that there's a huge need for homeschool moms to either have some type of job or income or whatever that looks like, and we wanted to give everyone some practical, real life people who are getting stuff done. So today we have Katie Cordell with us. She is actually a birth doula, but I will let her take it away and Katie, just tell us what you do.
Hey guys, so I own a doula agency here in Central Texas. It is called Central Texas Birth, and I offer birth doula services, which is essentially postpartum, antepartum, and during birth support. I'm also a childbirth educator, so I teach childbirth classes, infant care classes, and breastfeeding classes. I am an accredited breastfeeding counselor with the Leche League of USA, so we hold postpartum breastfeeding support meetings here in town. And I'm also a postpartum placenta specialist, so I process placentas and all the things that come along with that.
Awesome.
So, Katie, how did you get started as a doula?
So I got started about 4 years ago because I actually wanted to be a lactation consultant. Breastfeeding support is really important to me. I nurse all of my kiddos and issues, and I didn't really have a lot of support. And so I started off wanting to give moms what I didn't have when I was having my children. And I looked into it and realized that it was about the equivalent of 2 master's degrees, and I was homeschooling all of my kiddos at that time, which I still am, but they were much younger back then. And I knew I couldn't go back to school, and so I wanted to get involved somehow with pregnant and new mothers. And so I was just kind of mostly stay home with my kiddos, and I don't know really how I came upon as soon as I heard about it, I thought, that's it. That's what I want to do. That's what I need to be doing. So I do what I do, and I have an idea, and I jump in with both feet. And I took a doula training that summer with the blessing of my husband and started my business. And so I first became trained as a doula, and then I did childbirth education, and then I did my breastfeeding counselor training, and then I did placenta encapsulation. So my goal is to essentially offer families like all the support and education they need from conception through pregnancy through postpartum and breastfeeding up until their kiddos are 1 or 2 years old.
Awesome. So that basically covered what you do and how you got started and all that. So how long have you been doing this?
So I trained in 2014 as a doula and started my business then. So it's been about 4 years.
Awesome.
And what does a typical day look like for you, Katie?
So it depends on how many clients I have each month. Sometimes I have no clients in a month. Sometimes I have 5. And so it really just depends. If I have a prenatal meeting with a client, I usually prepare I take like an intake form from my client to see kind of like what number of pregnancy this is for her and what she's most anxious about and what does she want to talk about in her prenatal meetings and where is she giving birth, because the support that I offer for a hospital birth is going to usually look a pretty bit different than the support that I offer for a home birth. And so we would go through her preferences, and then I kind of make a handout folder for her, and then I usually go to her house and we talk about what to expect at her birth facility, what are her fears and anxieties about birth, what to expect the first week of breastfeeding, how dad can get involved during the birth process, because I always say I don't want to ever take his place. I want to help him support his wife the best way that I can do. And so most dads want to help, but they have no clue how to do that. And so that's a large part of my job, is helping dad figure out what moms need and what they don't need. And dads are really good at emotionally supporting moms. moms and being there for their wife because they love them and they're intimate with them, but they don't know what to do during birth. They're usually kind of awkward. They want to touch when mom doesn't want to be touched. They want to say things and joke around when mom doesn't want to joke around. And so I kind of help them realize, like, as labor progresses, the jokes will stop and we'll get more quiet and we'll get more inward, and we kind of follow mom's lead and all of those things. And then, it just depends. Again, sometimes I go to a birth, usually it's at 3 a.m. And so if I get home at 10 a.m., I'm going to be sleeping all day and I'm not going to be homeschooling that day. My husband is really, really great and supportive, and he owns his own business as well. And so sometimes he's here for my kiddos, and sometimes my grandmother's here or my mother-in-law, or sometimes it's my oldest daughter who's 15 and who's great, who can kind of hold down the house while I nap. So regular days, it just kind of depends. If I'm teaching a class, I'm going to do lots of prep and lots of research, making sure that I'm all up to date on all the evidence-based information. I follow lots of PubMed articles to make sure that what I'm teaching is still accurate, and I'm, prepping for classes and doing handouts and making sure that I have a hospital room available for classes or just whatever.
Awesome. So then how many hours, like, I know it's going to vary 5 births or 1 birth, but in general, how many hours do you usually work in a week?
Per day or per week?
Whatever makes sense.
I'm going to say probably per week, I'm going to average 5 hours a week. So it's very part-time.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, Katie, what kind of training is required to become a doula?
So doulas are a completely unregulated industry, and so you don't have to have any training at all. Just for a client or a woman or a man to hire you to be their doula, you don't have to have any formal training. So someone could hire their friend and say, hey, my friend's going to be my doula and she's going to hang out with me during my birth. Hospitals, if you work for a hospital in one of their doula programs, the hospital might require you to have a specific training or a certification. And then if you work for like a specific doula agency, the owners might require you have to be certified or you have to be trained by this agency. But overall, like, to say that you're a doula, you don't have to do anything.
Okay.
So,
but you do have some training, right?
It's I took my doula training through DONA, which is Doulas of North America, and it took me probably about 6 or 9 months to finish all of my certification requirements and do all of my births and read all of my books. And like, I had to take a childbirth class and a doula training class, a breastfeeding class, and a few other things. So yes, I'm definitely trained in what I do. But again, there's no regulation, so it's not like someone can say I'm a doctor and they have to have a medical degree. Doulas are completely unregulated, so it just depends on who you want to work for and where you want to work and all of those things.
Okay, so say someone, a mom, normal mom, says, "Wow, that sounds amazing. I want to become a doula." What do you recommend is the first steps to getting started?
I would definitely recommend looking into some different training organizations. There's lots out there. Some are online, some are in person. I 100% recommend taking an in-person training. And I know as busy moms, especially homeschool moms, online can be super convenient because we don't have to go anywhere. But what I learned, I met some amazing women in Central Texas who are doulas and childbirth educators and midwives. And the ability to network with them and help each other out and be backup doulas for one another and work for their agencies and just be friends with them has been worth every penny and every obstacle that it took me to get to an in-person training. And also it takes, 3 or 4 days for the in-person training and you're done with it and then you can get on with it. You can look into DONA, who is had to do it over again. I probably would not train with DONA. I would probably go with an agency called Pro Doula, because along with training you in how to be a doula and physiological labor support and all of those things, they also train you to run a doula business, which is very rare in doula training organizations. They don't talk to you about how much to charge when you work and how to write a contract and how to pay a backup and how long you can work and all of those things. And Pro Doula does that. And so I trained with my childbirth education through Doula. They do like the whole kit and caboodle. So I would definitely start there, and then join some Facebook groups about doulas, and you can just read along and you'll learn so much just by reading the questions and seeing the answers. And then you can start networking hospital midwives, childbirth educators, and just meet as many people as you can. And if you know a doula, email her or ask her for coffee, and see what kind of advice she has to give you.
Okay.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that community is really important with your job.
Yes, absolutely.
It's important to know people who are doing the same kinds of things as you. Is that right?
Yeah, because I technically work by myself, and I don't miss births very often, but if I'm sick and obviously I can't go to birth, I'm going to have to call someone to be there for me. And so it's important that I have women that I know are trained well, that I know that are going to do a good job, that are going to respect the hospital staff and work with them and not against them, that are going to be a good fit for my client's personality. And I know if I can't be there, that I can call them and say, hey, Sarah, can you go to my birth today? Because I have strep throat and I can't go, or whatever. It's from doulas who are full for the month, and they recommend me, and then I recommend them. And so the working relationship that we have with each other, even though technically we don't work together for the same agency, is really, really important.
Great.
Okay, awesome.
What would you consider the startup investment costs to look like? I mean, is it a relatively cheap investment to get started?
I'm going to say to start with just doula training, you're probably looking less than $1,000 for the training. Now, if you fly somewhere for training, obviously you're going to have to add in travel costs. I think my original doula training was about $500. My childbirth education was about $3 or $4. My breastfeeding accreditation was cheaper. It was maybe $200. And then for placenta prep, you're going to probably look at another $600 or $700.
Okay.
So if you do all the, yeah.
So under 2,000 for everything.
Yeah. And then, if you want business cards or rack cards or a website, that's all going to be more as well.
Okay.
And so, Katie, when you're talking about business cards and a website, how do you market your business?
So a lot of my business is through word of mouth. Of course, I'm a 30-something-year-old girl, so I do lots of Facebook and lots of Facebook and online stuff. I do have a website. It's not professionally designed. I designed it myself because I wanted to save cost. So it's, it's not perfect, but it has a lot of information on there. It has contact information and all that. So if I have a class, I'll do lots of, sometimes I do Facebook advertising and do like specific target market for, I'm targeting 20-year-old women who are interested in pregnancy or whatever. So most of it's online and word of mouth.
Great. So to get a little personal, if you don't want to share, that's fine. But can you share with us about how much you make either per year, per month, or maybe give us a range over 500, over 1,000, or substantially more, whatever that looks like for you?
So probably the easiest way to answer that is just to answer how much I charge per birth. So for a birth client, I have a package that includes two private prenatal visits with her and her partner, usually in their home. They usually last about 2 or 3 hours apiece. Birth support, and then one postpartum visit where I go back to her home and we process the birth. I offer breastfeeding support, things like that. And that's $900. And I offer payment plans. They don't have to pay all of it at once. Childbirth classes, private classes usually range anywhere from $200 to $300. A group class is about $150 per couple, and placenta encapsulation is about $250, depending on if it's in Gatesville or Austin. Obviously, I have travel costs and everything. I'm not sure how much that equals out to per year. It just depends on how many clients I have. But that's about how my costs break down for each service.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we were looking for. We just want to give, women an idea of what kind of income they could look at if they were doing something like
Yeah.
this.
And so, Katie, what would you say is the hardest part of your job?
Watching women be traumatized and disrespected and not listened to, and watching healthy women with healthy pregnancies go into the hospital and leave with unnecessary surgery and birth trauma and not being supported by their family to breastfeed and be given terrible information and being forced back to work too soon. I'm going to cry. Yeah, that's really hard.
Yeah, it seems like you're really passionate about that.
Yeah, just watching women say no and then them not being listened to. Birth is great and it's wonderful and it's beautiful and I've seen some great things, but I've also seen some really ugly things that I've gone home and cried to my husband. And I take confidentiality very seriously, so it's not like I can go talk to a bunch of people about, oh, my client so-and-so who just had this terrible thing happen to her, because that's private. And so I have to do a lot of processing and remember that I'm there to support her and know that and just I don't think that I necessarily affect birth outcomes, so I can't keep you from having a bad birth experience necessarily, but I can just rest that I've supported her and I'm there for her and I know what she feels like and she can talk to me about those things. So that's probably the hardest thing, is just seeing really crappy things happen sometimes.
So, it sounds like you obviously are very passionate about it, which kind of hopefully conveys that if this is the direction for you, that passion and belief in what you're doing is very important.
Yeah.
So then, Katie, what do you think is the best part about what you get to do?
Definitely supporting moms, because especially in our culture, like, moms don't always live by their mom and they don't always have family around. And so you have a brand new mom who knows not very much about pregnancy, and she has no idea what to expect, because we don't see birth as children anymore. It's kind of secluded and closed behind closed doors in the hospital. And so getting to meet moms and dads where they're at and doing childbirth education with them and teaching them about their bodies and about how their body makes milk after their baby is born, and that's the perfect food for their baby. And your body is made to give birth, and this is how I can help you do that. And just watching them bloom from, now I'm pregnant and I don't know what to expect, and now I'm going to have my baby, and now I have my baby and I'm able to nurse my baby, and I feel like I feel confident and educated because I have a good support system around me. And then building personal relationships. I have so many clients that are friends now because we are alike on so many personal levels. There's just certain clients that I click with, and now they're great friends, and I go to their homes and our kids play together. And so just seeing them, become mothers and become the mothers that they want to be and be supported in that is just really great.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. So, Katie, what would you say if there's somebody who wanted to get into your industry? What's the one most important piece of advice you would give them?
Check your heart for why you want to do this. A lot of doulas want to be advocates, and there's a place for that, but it's not necessarily in the birth room. I can advocate for policy change and hospital policy change and reduce cesarean rates and rooming in with babies and skin to skin and all the things that I personally believe in. But my client might not necessarily want that. And so I have to come to her house with my heart in the right place, saying, no matter what this woman wants, I'm going to support her in that. And I'm not going to give her information she doesn't necessarily want. I'm not going to talk her into having this kind of birth if she doesn't want that kind of birth. So definitely knowing why you're doing what you're doing. You're here to support families, and that's going to look different for each family. You're not here to make everyone have the kind of birth that you want.
That is such great advice, Katie. Katie, I have really enjoyed this. Actually, it kind of makes me want to like go back and have babies again and have a doula. But not. We're definitely done having babies. So no doula services for me. But Katie, that was so informative. We loved getting to talk with you. Since we didn't ask at the beginning, will you just share a little bit about what your life looks like, what your family is, what your, who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I live in Gatesville with my husband. We've been married, I think we just celebrated our 11th anniversary, 11th or 12th, something like that. I have 5 children. They are 15, 10, 9, 6, and 2. I have 4 girls, and then my youngest is a boy. He's almost 3. I'm really active in my church. I'm a member at a church here in Gatesville. My husband and I both are, and our faith is really important to us. And I've been homeschooling. This will be our 11th year. So I've been homeschooling since my oldest was in kindergarten. And there was never any really question that I would homeschool. It's just something that I knew I would do. When it was time for my child to start school, I knew I would homeschool. So we live here on about 100 acres. We have family all around. My mom and dad live next door. My grandmother lives next door. My brother and his wife are building a house next door. And so we have a little family commune out here and lots of support and all the stuff that comes along with that. So
awesome. Well, Katie, again, thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching, I hope that this was informative for you. And any of the information that Katie shared, we'll have links for that in the show notes afterwards, so you can check out some of the things she talked about. We'll also have a link to her website. So if you're in the Central Texas area and in need of doula services or breastfeeding support or whatever that looks like, definitely get in contact with Katie. Kate and I both know Katie personally, and we would highly recommend her services to anyone that needed them. Kate, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I don't. Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real treat.
So
yeah, thanks for having me. I sure appreciate it.
Sorry, I just totally cut you off. But we are very glad you're here. So join us again. Each week we're bringing new moms to you that are working from home. We have some cool stuff coming up in the next few weeks. Floral designers, and we have a model and some bakers and all kinds of
jewelry makers. Yes.
all kinds of cool stuff that you can earn an income from home. So again, Katie, thanks. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.